Hello and welcome, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you the top 10 best Ark Hunters, so let's just get straight into it. In at number 10, I've decided to put the Theory on the list actually, not only because its saddle unlocks at level 69.
Nice.
But simply because this is really great for the old hunting, and it does make sense. It is on the list after all. It's a great gatherer too. But considering it's a herbivore, it really does deserve to be on here as a hunter because it can gather all of those resources up after killing a corpse. If you get something like a trike or a stego out, it's going to have no chance in gathering up all the necessary resources from just the creature that you've just killed. Whereas the Theory can, and obviously that's not just the reason why I put it here. It would be a little bit stupid to do that. It is also just because it does a hefty amount of damage. You can go hunting with this creature with absolute ease. You shouldn't have too much issue overall with a creature like this. They are almost pristine for a herbivore in terms of their hunting, but you could obviously sort of tell why they're so good for all of their hunting. Their claws are just absolutely massive. You know, you're going to get a lot of mileage out of them. If you want to do the dragon as well, you can do it with Theories much more easily than if you're using something like Rex's actually, because it's particularly particularly damaging to carnivorous creatures, but this is a herbivore and its fire attack is not going to do nearly as much damage. Continuing on, we've got the Raasclark, and this really does need to be here. Although not a hunter I use a lot, it does deserve to be on the list for its hunting prowess. It is quite a great creature in that aspect. It can pick up loads of creatures too and just smash the hell out of them, and it obviously can just smash the hell out of most creatures with no issues whatsoever. I have no real issues fighting down creatures with something like this. It is extremely good for the job. It's just maybe you could use this thing for travel, and that's what I use it for more, and you know, maybe some PvP combat too. Obviously it's not allowed into boss fights, but I think, you know, the reason why it's slightly further back is maybe the creatures further on the list are sort of slightly better at the hunting part. It's still great, it does tons of damage and you can get a lot done with it, but there's some other creatures out there which I think do a better job, and it is also sometimes a little bit of a marathon to get yourself a Raasclark. Sometimes maybe not worth it. For the hunting side of things, the Theory is a much safer bet in that regard, but I have to put this thing in at least not the number 10 spot because it does definitely deserve something. I'm not hating on the Raasclark here. I do really love this as a creature, and it has a lot of versatility, and loads of players have really been using this thing to the fullest. But if you saw those resources on screen, sometimes, especially if you want to get 100% effectiveness, it's going to be quite a lot of work for this thing. Continuing on, I've got to put the Crystal Wyvern on because yes, the Wyverns are great combat creatures and great hunters, but the Crystal Wyvern is just such an easy tame, it deserves to be on the list here for me. While the turning cycle isn't the best on these things, you can go out and you can get quite a lot of damage done with a creature like this, especially the Blood Crystal Wyvern. That is my preferred Wyvern of choice. You can just rip creatures to absolute shreds with a Wyvern like that. And again, they're insanely easy to tame compared to the normal Wyvern. They are so minimal effort to tame, you could say. Essentially you need to be level 60. That can be very easily done with a note run, then knock out a Crystal Wyvern. Very easy to do now that you have the net gun and all of that. You can just take one of those with you, net gun one of these things and trank it out, and then boom, like that, take the Primal Crystal from it, and then, you know, you've just got to passive feed the Crystal Wyvern that you want. Make sure you've got enough Primal Crystal as well. Maybe knock out a few Wyverns again with the net gun. It really isn't too difficult, and then you've got yourself one of these things. In my opinion, it's a way nicer method than going down into the Wyvern trenches, and I do vastly prefer it from that. And it's a really great hunting creature for me as it deals a lot of damage, and it's insanely easy to tame. I can get them whenever I want, even if I'm starting out fresh. Again, it really doesn't take me too long, and within my first session I'm already up and running with Crystal Wyverns. In at number 7 we have got the Thyla, and come on, this really does deserve to be here. It's one of those creatures where they're just so mobile. They are really good hunters, and of course they have the bleed ability too. And you know, you really do have to put them on the list there for it. These creatures are just so versatile in the way that they hunt, and they're not too difficult to tame. Again, a simple trap will get you there, or the net launcher if you've got that net gun, whichever thing you want to call it. It's one of those. Again, I don't really mind what you call it. I know what you mean by net gun or net launcher. You know, there's a gun and it launches a net, or yeah, net launches from a gun. It depends what perspective you want to look at it from. But as you can see there, that raptor just completely demolished like that. No issues whatsoever. Creatures like this are just such a blessing to have in Ark Survival Evolved, and I love that the Thyla is included in Ark. Of course, it's been in the game for a while. It spawns on the island too, which means it's just so accessible for everyone out there. Like, you look on some other maps and, you know, especially if they're not free DLCs, I get a little bit iffy when it comes to lists. Although, you know, we have got a paid DLC creature. Originally it came on a paid DLC, but you can get it on Fiorda now. Come off the number 3 spot, but Fiorda kind of evens things out again, because, you know, yeah, some people say, well, why don't you just get all the DLCs? Some people just only have, you know, the base game, or, you know, the base game with the free DLCs if they've installed those up. Personally, you know, a lot of people from my point of view have that, as they haven't bought all the DLCs. It can be a little bit of a marathon sometimes to buy all the DLCs, seemingly. I obviously have them, but, you know, that's for content purposes rather than playing. But I did get them before, but you know what I mean. Like, I got Bob's Tall Tales for content purposes, and I haven't even made a video on it yet. But we'll probably get around to that. Now, the Giga and the Carcharodontaurus are going here, so don't say I didn't put the Carcharodontaurus on the list. I'm putting it here with the Giga. I think they both tie hand in hand in a way for hunting. They're insanely great for killing creatures, but I'm putting them this far back on the list as I think they lack in terms of, you know, ease to tame and actually just getting them in the first place, which has to push them back instantly, in my opinion. If they're really easy to tame and they're great at doing their job, then they can go way higher. These things are great at doing their job, but they can be a little bit of a pain to tame. The Carcharodontaurus can be a bit annoying as well, and sometimes can be a bit buggy and glitchy. You do know how Ark works after all, and some more complicated tame methods can tend to go wrong just from the game side of things rather than just your side. But there's no doubt in saying that they both are incredibly insanely good at just hunting in general. They really do pack the punch when it comes to damage, and their health is enough to easily withstand any hunts that you're going to need to go on in the Ark map, because we're not really talking about bosses here, and these are only really useful on extinction for bosses, as they're not even allowed into boss fights on general maps, as they're seen as too powerful. They simply both did have to make a spotlight in this list, and so that's why I'm putting both of them here. In at number 5, we've got the Baryonyx. And why would you put this thing above the Giga, the Carcharodontaurus, the Thyla, the Crystal Wyvern, the Rhino, and the Theri? Well, I really love what this thing does for water hunting and underwater hunting, and although maybe you don't do it a lot, it's a whole other dimension to it, and it can do basically all that the Thyla can, maybe not quite as much mobility, and it does lack the bleed ability. It would be so insane if this creature had the bleed ability. But I still think the fact that all of that underwater stuff is accessible with a creature like this, it deserves the number 5 spot, putting it middle of the road. And also for caving as well, it is unbeatable. Still to this day, I love this creature's caving capabilities, and it is still an extremely mobile one. It can jump around, it can stun creatures as well on underwater hunts. That is an extremely incredible thing to have. Obviously, it can only stun creatures up to the size of Megalodon. If I haven't said that already, my memory is fading at the moment because it's a little bit late at night as I'm recording this. But yeah, you know, that is going to be extremely useful, and for caving as well. But caving and hunting, you're probably going to do maybe a little bit of hunting in a cave, because you'll hunt down some creatures and kill them. Again, I'm slightly flexing the words, but still, you know, given combat scenarios, they're going to do quite exceptionally well, especially if you've got a reasonably leveled one. And at number 4, I simply have to put the Rex just on what it's done for hunting in Ark, and while maybe some would use it more as a boss creature, the Yeti deserves a spot as well. I'm putting the Rex and the Yeti both in the same spot, like the Giga and the Carcharodontaurus, because that Yeti buff is just insane. And I think, yeah, although I don't use them a lot for hunting, I use the Yeti more so actually than the Rex. They deserve the number 4 spot in my opinion, because I prefer all the creatures further along on the list for hunting. but the UT and the Rex are the OGs, and they've done so much for hunting in the grand scheme of Ark, and they were definitely my saviours earlier on. I know the UT didn't come around until 2017, the Rex more so, which is why the Rex is here rather than the UT in terms of the B-roll, but there is a UT in the B-roll. I know I'm killing it, but you know, that's the UT's spotlight, but I still think it is a really useful hunter, obviously, for that ability, and it can actually deal quite a reasonable amount of damage as well. They're not going to be the most mobile. The UT's obviously way more mobile than the Rex, especially in water scenarios. I know you're not really going to be doing much with water and a Rex, but still, you might have to cross a lake or something, and it can just be a pain. They're not the most mobile things out there, you can probably tell, but they deserve to be here for what they've done in Ark and just how long they've been here and how they're still used and great to this day. There will never be a day, in my opinion, where I think these creatures will be underappreciated for what they've done in the Ark community, as they really have stapled themselves as some incredibly great creatures that we can all love and use. In at number 3, I've decided to put the Shadow Mane, as this is insanely great underwater like the Barry, but it's better. I'm pretty confident it doesn't have the bleed ability, but it does have the hydration buff. If it does have the bleed ability, sorry to the Shadow Mane, I just haven't used it in a bit. I haven't been doing much Ark lately actually, because music has been getting in the way. I don't know why I said getting in the way, but I've been doing a lot of that at the moment, which is why maybe I've been a little bit more absent in some regards, but still, I'm kicking around, still recording all of these videos daily, I guess. But you know, I haven't really done much Ark playing, is what I should say. So sorry if I did get that wrong. Comment it down below if I did get it wrong as well, because I definitely do need to correct it, especially because the Shadow Mane does come up quite a lot in these top 10 lists. It's a great swimmer, you know, which is why it's such a great underwater hunter, and you know, the hydration buff just really does buff you down there, as it suggests, and it's a great combat creature just for its high mobility and high damage output. The only reason why it's not a little bit further ahead is its taming method really does suck. Now, I have to put the Desmodus here as such a great hunter, as the use of what you can get from the hunt with a creature like this, if that makes sense to you, because these creatures have Sanguine Elixir. From you hunting around and gathering up all those blood bags and things, if you want to get Bloodstalker as well, it's amazing, and more Desmoduses, of course. Those blood bags are going to be incredibly useful, but that Sanguine Elixir is so good for tames. 30% of it is done. You just simply have to put it in their inventory and press whatever button it is for you, or it could be a click that's still a button. What am I talking about? Whatever button it is for you to like do the thing. The consume button, for me it's E because PC player, but actually comment down below, what is your consume button in Ark from you console players to us PC players? And if you are someone who changes the key bindings around, what have you changed it to? Because I do want to know, actually, because I find it quite interesting sometimes, especially if you leave your reasonings down. Sometimes you don't really have a reason and you just do it, and you know, it's always a thing with me. I like crouch on X rather than C, but that's just my hand positioning, I guess. They're also just really great gliders as well, the Desmodus. And coming in at number 1, we've got the Deinonychus. Still, for me, in the hunting space, the Dine is unbeaten, being a ridiculously easy tame on Crystal Isle. Simply steal the egg from the Deinonychus nest and raise it as your own. Yes, then obviously you can get a nice high level breeding pair, but you can go for a high level straight away. Even low level ones though will do great, and then you can have yourself an even better version of the Deinonychus, and then when you get some mutations on it further and further, they do become even better creatures. But even a low level one right off the bat is going to do insanely well for your hunting. They have the pack buff, obviously the bleed ability. They're especially great at hunting larger creatures, as you can just absolutely tear them to shreds by gripping onto them. That pack buff is going to vastly improve the amount of damage you're doing though, and with mate boosts on top of it, and obviously that insane bleed ability, it really does make quite a lot of difference in the hunting space. You're going to have a great time. Not to mention that these creatures are insanely versatile when it comes to their movements. They really don't lack, and they take no fall damage too. You obviously don't have to worry about other creatures in your pack. If you do hunt with more than one creature, it will vastly improve your damage output, of course, obviously just having more creatures there, but still maybe there's some diminishing returns with creatures getting stuck all over the place. Sometimes it's just nice to go solo and then you know, you just perfectly just with yourself, and nothing has been left behind. But you can always use the Awesome Spyglass, not the Awesome Spyglass, Creature Finder Deluxe to help you out if you know you ever thinking of downloading mods. That is quite a good one. Not sure what it's called on ASA, but on ASE it's called Creature Finder Deluxe. But anyway, that is the end of today's video. I really hope that you all did enjoy, as I definitely did enjoy making this one. So comment down below what is the best Ark Hunter for you, and if you didn't agree with my list, then feel free to put your 10 down in the comments below. I'll see you all later.